everyone, and welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Seun Wakimbaloye in Lagos. Across several states of Nigeria today, supporters and members of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, are staging protests to show their dissatisfaction over the verdict of the Supreme Court on Imo governorship seat, which removed Emeka Ihedioha, a PDP candidate, and asked that Hope Uzodinma of the APC be sworn in as governor. Since the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, there have been a series of reactions and debates on the matter. The national chairman of the two main parties and the ones in contention, the PDP and APC, have been speaking on the matter. They have their arguments on the matter.
Our party has it in good authority that Justice Tanko and his panel are working on instruction from certain forces in the presidency to use the Supreme Court to take over states lawfully won by the PDP and award them to APC. The PDP, therefore, advises Justice Tanko not to allow himself to be used to push our nation to the path of anarchy. We demand that the decision of the Supreme Court on the Imo governorship election be reviewed and reversed in the interest of justice.
Emeka Ihedioha did not have the spread and therefore could never have been declared as a governor. These are not state secrets. These are not security secrets. Hope Uzodinma is not only the highest vote scorer, he had the required spread necessary to be declared the winner of that election, and the Supreme Court has so upheld. And Hope has since resumed duties in Owerri in Imo State as the governor of that great state.
You've heard the two chairmen of the two major political parties talking about this. Now, some other politicians are also speaking on this matter. The presidential candidate of the PDP and the former vice president, ATIKU ABUBAKAR, is worried about the outcome and its implications. But the Minister of State for Labor, Mr. Festus Keyamo, senior advocate of Nigeria, says PDP needs to apologize to Nigerians on this matter. Take a listen to them.
I would like to propose that a strong committee to review the last elections and recommend to the party needed reforms and address the challenges in the last elections be set up forthwith. But what cannot wait is that we should not take what has been happening in our democratic processes, from the role of INEC to the role of security agencies and the judiciary, for granted.
The same court that gave them victories and excluded us entirely in Rivers State, excluded entirely in Zamfara State, is that the same kangaroo court? How can Democrats come up and make such, such statements, such very inciting statements? I think it's an irresponsible statement. It doesn't even deserve a response, and they need to apologize to Nigerians and to the Supreme Court. They need to apologize if they didn't make that kind of statement. It's extremely provocative.
Well, perhaps some of the provocation that you could see is what is happening already on the streets. The PDP is planning more protests for tomorrow. They say the outcome of the case has implications for Nigeria's democratic development and our judiciary. Let's get some more reactions on this one. I've joining me tonight on the program, Alhaji Buba Galadima, former spokesperson for the PDP presidential campaign. And with him there, side by side, is a former lawmaker and an APC chieftain, Mr. Cletus Obun. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight on the program. Let me begin with you, Alhaji Galadima. The Supreme Court is the ultimate court of the land. Whatever the Supreme Court says is binding on all and sundry. Now, what is happening today? Because the argument the APC is making is that the result from Opus or Dima, some of them were not added properly. And they say, look, when your party won at the Supreme Court, all was well with the judiciary. Just one case that you have lost, now the judiciary is not working. How would you react to that?
Well, one case is too many. And the issue is very fundamental. Where in a country where there is a separation of powers between the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, and all the others subject themselves to the whims and caprices of the executive, meaning there is a unity of purpose between the judiciary, the executive, and the judiciary. That makes everything that any of the arms does on behalf of the executive suspect. I want to say something. The other time, Mahamudu Yakubu, the chairman of INEC, visited President Muhammad Buhari, and it was reported by this your station, and in that meeting, they said it was a closed-door meeting. I want to state for clarity that the chairman of Independent Electoral Commission should never be seen to be hobnobbing with any politician except that politicians come to his office, including Mr. President. President has no right, has no authority whatsoever to call the chairman of INEC into his house, except to compromise him, because he is an interested party. And I want to give an example. Professor Oferi Gang of the Ghana Electoral Commission was there for 23 years. He has never met any of the presidents of Ghana, and the presidency changed hands during his tenure 3 or 4 times. At all, in any event, or even or on camera, he has never done that, and he maintained his independence. That was why elections or governments change hands in Ghana. Let anybody tell me, when you talk to enlightened Nigerians, they tell you that, we are following America. These are the best practices in Europe, France, England, Germany. Let any of them, elite, tell me when the Prime Minister or the Chancellor or the President of America ever invited the chairman of the Electoral Commission to his house, and they were seen dining either in private or in secret or in the open. Or even the Chief Justice. Why should the Chief Justice of Nigeria go to the villa? To do what? And this is why some of us will use the rest of our lives to educate Nigerians on what needs to be done. And shall you know as a fact that the arithmetic in IMO has never added up, and that the IMO declared results for APC was never scrutinized on or subjected to forensic analysis during trial. So if that is not done, it means that the exclusion by the lower court was correct. If the lower court has subjected those results to forensic analysis, and they were questioned by the respondents or the petitioners, then you could have said Supreme Court would have acted on them and appropriately right. However, thank God they did that. We will see what they will do tomorrow in similar cases that we have. Because
all right, Alhaji Galadima,
once there is an election held in this country, the community where these elections were held know who is the winner. And we as Nigerians know who is the winner. It is not for the judiciary to tell us who is the winner. They should look for the truth rather than technicalities to support those that are in authority. We don't accept what is technical. What we accept is that what is the truth? Who won that election? This is what.
Alhaji Galadima, let me allow Mr.
Now,
Obun.
I want to land. they have now started seeing. I have said on a program in this station that the judiciary will throw Nigeria into chaos. They have already started that. There were demonstrations across the country, in Obun, in Katsina, and in Akwa Ibom, in Imo. Only God knows where this is going to end. And the judiciary should know that they owe it a duty to the people of Nigeria that they do not also only do justice, but justice must be seen to be done, irrespective of whether it is Buba Galadima's father that is affected.
All right, Alhaji Galadima, let me go to Mr. Obun now. But this is the result as announced on the field. Take a look at it. Perhaps one of the reasons why the agitation is much on this reason and the sensibility of how Mr. Opuzodema, who was at the 4th position, came to number 1. But it was said that over 300 polling units were not, results were not added, which eventually we understand that was added, which birthed the judgment of the Supreme Court. The full details of that judgment, we don't have it yet. But let me allow Mr. Obun to come in here. How do you react to the protests that we see on the street in several states? PDP says they will continue tomorrow, and they describe the Supreme Court judgment as a miscarriage of justice.
Well, let me first of all dissect these issues in perspective from the legal standpoint, from our jurisprudence onto our political experiences and exposure. First of all, let me say this, taking the last to the first. Only immediately after this judgment they are claiming to protest, Senator Ifeanyi of YPP was removed by the same technicality they are complaining about, because I hear Baba Galadima telling us that technicalities should not be used. The man won his election. They didn't take him to the tribunal. They took him to the regular high court. That matter is going to go to the Supreme Court about his certificate forgery and about the issue of perjury. That is YPP against PDP. That technicality is very sound. That the man who won the vote and his people want him because he has been a philanthropist, has been everything there. Today, that man is to be thrown out on account of a PDP petition bordering on perjury. That is not technicality in PDP parlance. We are aware of how a judgment was arrested in Sokoto State, and the presiding judge of the Court of Appeal, Justice Salami, had to be sacrificed for the Sokoto governorship election the judgment not to be made. Why we came to power, APC, is on account of correcting such things. And that is why nobody protested. Nobody even went to counter the fact that the entire of Zamfara and Port Harcourt, that is Rivers State, was taken out of it, even when every seat was taken in Zamfara State by APC, and with a stroke of the pen, that same kangaroo court, that same court that today they are complaining about, that Angel Onogan that they were seeking for, because that was their implant, all that now has become jungle justice. Judiciary is to be castigated and crucified. Let's get to the brass tag of the figures you just showed. Our legal framework, our jurisprudence has made it clear, both from the ground norm, which is the Constitution of Nigeria, and indeed the Electoral Act, and all our extant judgments, which are quasi-legislative, that is, pronouncements of courts can become laws for us. And therefore, what has happened in the case of Ihedioha and Hope Uzodinma is simply that the case was presented in which 388 polling unit results were unchallenged. And thank God he sat here now and confirmed that there was no forensic inquiry or interrogation of those votes. Who was to do that? Is it a man who came to court and said, I won in 388 polling units, and the votes there are 236,600. That if you had added them, plus my 96 that I have admitted, that this is what would have happened. On the trial court, nobody challenged those 388 polling units, 236,600 votes. Nobody challenged them. Therefore, they couldn't have been subjected to the vagaries of of forensic auditing or forensic inquiry. Having admitted that those votes existed, what would Zojima simply ask for is that add them to my 96,000. And that is what the minority judgment said when that judgment was given. There was a minority judgment. That is what the Supreme Court upheld. And people today want to simply engage in the pleasantry and the luxury of the selective amnesia. They want to forget that nobody challenged the 236,000 votes. Nobody challenged the 388 polling units. Not even PDP challenged it. And Hope's case was that I made it in this vote. If you add them to my 96,000, I will be the winner. Thirdly, let me make this point, that even if you accept that the 300 should not be taken in, that Ihedioha got 1/3. That is a quarter of the vote in 12 local governments out of 27. Go and check the result. And I put it to iChannels Television to please do us the favor of bringing those figures that were brought. Ab initio, that judgment ought not to stand because he got only 12 local governments out of 27. The figures are there. INEC will bring them out. They are on the INEC website. He got 12 over 27. 18 over 27 is 2/3 of 27. It can never be 12. So from the beginning, that judgment ought not to stand. And that's what the minority judgment in the appeal and in the lower court said. And that is what the Supreme Court upheld. The fourth point I want to make here about the issue of dragging the judiciary to the mud on account of one loss is that each time INEC brings out its new rules, and wants to obey the courts and want to obey the laws, what PDP comes out is its mantra of win the election, let us go to court. They've been doing that over 16 years. And when it came to the brass tacks, they are now today crying wolf more than any other person in Nigeria. It is the height of irresponsibility. It's the height of some kind of treason for you to think that your argument must at all times win, when in a plural democracy, where you ought to have alternate views, PDP insists that what they are used to must stand. Because a man is used to stealing and nobody complains, and nobody can rise up to them. So then they are having a challenge, and therefore they do not want Nigerians to have a rest. So these protests are treasonable because they are inciting. They've gone to court, which is the last place to go to. Buhari did that 3 times. Buhari did that 4 times.
Mr. Obun, let's get Alhaji Galadima back into the... All right, let's get Alhaji Galadima back into the conversation. Alhaji Galadima, how do you react then to what Mr. Obun has just said now about the manner in which your party has reacted to this judgment?
Well, he's an uninformed person. So I forgive him for calling us irresponsible. I hope he knows that the same election was held for governorship and House of Assembly elections. In all the 388 polling booths, APC had different results for the House of Assembly. And him that won 99.9% in all the 388 polling booths in the country. What happened that he didn't even win one councillor from those 4 local governments? One councillor, no single House of Assembly in the whole state, because he's the most popular person. I agree. He's my friend. And maybe I would want him to be governor, but not in this way. So what he is saying, I know. Let him tell us the names of the local governments out of the 27 where Ihedioha has scored only 25%. And if that is the case, what the Supreme Court ought to have done as an elementary student of politics, I would have said they should have cancelled the election for a rerun between 2 leading candidates, excluding the man who came number 3, number 4, and number 20. I think you know when you point a finger to somebody, understand that 4 are pointing at you.
Okay. Alhaji Galadima, it's a good place for us to take a break now. We'll take a breather. We will finalize on this matter when we come back from break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's get our concluding moments with my guest in our Abuja studio, talking about the outcome of the Imo governorship election case at the Supreme Court. ABUBAKAR Galadima, one of the spokespersons of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, and Mr. Cletus Obun is a chieftain of the APC and a former lawmaker. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on. Mr. Cletus Obun, let me allow you to react quickly to what Alhaji Galadima said. That, I mean, the question he asked was, if your candidate, Hope Uzodinma, was that popular and it looks so much like he won the election, how come your party did not win at the grassroots, perhaps some of the other elections that were conducted on the same day?
You are talking with a person whom he claims is not informed, but he forgets that Otedola in Lagos State of NRC was the only person who won the NRC governorship election under SDP NRC in 1993. The rest of the persons in the State House of Assembly were SDP. What happened?
No.
Please, let me give you these statistics. Please.
No.
The majority of the people who won that election, the majority of the people who won that election.
Financial Secretary of the NRC. You are not qualified.
Excuse me, that. I am qualified because I participated in that election. You don't know. I do know sufficiently to tell you that Otedola was at the brink of even being impeached on account of being an NRC. I should know, I must know, because statistics who were insignificant. Who were insignificant.
Do you have insignificant?
Yes. Who were insignificant? What were the figures? What was the figure? What was the figure in Lagos State? What was the figure? I'm telling you that it is possible for somebody. Excuse me. It is how many did you have? It is only in PDP that you have. Excuse me. It is only in PDP that 6 members. It is only PDP that 6 members of the House of Assembly out of 25 can impeach a governor. We have seen that. We've seen 19 overriding 16, or 16 overriding 19. We've seen that in PDP. Our mathematics and arithmetic have always been like that. So we are not shocked that you are shocked today. So it has been a tradition in PDP for us to have that. Now, it is not because I'm an APC man. It is because we are talking first as Nigerian. As far as I'm a Nigerian, on these issues, we must state the fact because our next generation is going to inherit what we are saying today. It is going to remain because of modern technology. What we are saying today is going to haunt us or make us. And I do think that when I'm making this, I make it upon my honor that it is not about APC and PDP. It is about what we are leaving as a legacy. What do our laws say? If we are to amend the laws such that this kind of things shouldn't be in which a man who didn't get this, like you admitted, if he didn't get the 25% of 2/3, he ought not to, in the first place, have gone for a rerun. What happened that we didn't get that at the judgment stage? Because you were all buying your way as usual of let's meet in court.
We need to wrap up on this conversation, Mr. Obun. Let me in just about a few seconds, 40 seconds, Alhaji Galadima. There's going to be some other judgments tomorrow on Monday. There's been several other judgments that favor your party. Should some of these other Supreme Court judgments go against what your party thought it would be, how would your party react to it? Just in the 40 seconds, Alhaji Galadima.
How have we reacted before? In all these judgments tomorrow, in every locality, in every constituency in Nigeria or in those states, people know who won those elections. And if there is a deviation from the expectations of the people, then you know the people are free to say or to voice out any dissent. And I want to put on record that Mr. Obun cannot talk about NRC days because he was not a participant. I was the National Financial Secretary of the NRC. National. Therefore, Otedola was our governor. I know what happened more than he could say. So let young men not take that as statement of truth, because he is uninformed.
I was already a graduate at 1993. By 1992, I was already a graduate.
All right, let me
2 years after, I was already a lecturer. I was already a lecturer in the university. So you can't say that about me. I was already a lecturer at that election.
Mr.
So
Obun,
I participated in the SDP process completely. So I
Mr.
understand
Obun,
that, yes?
let's get your final thought on the program, just like we heard from Alhaji Galadima. When they say that the judiciary is being overridden with what is going on, how are you going to react to that? And perhaps that may be your final thought on the program.
We'll encourage YPP to go and protest because of what PDP did to them, because it was a technical knockout instead of relying on the votes that came from the field. So YPP should also go and protest. Then APC is going to come out to protest those states and our exclusion after winning the election in Zamfara, and we're now technically knocked out by a stroke of the pen. We're also going to ask PDP to act as a party that wants the country to survive. We must go beyond the survivalist politics of the self and think about this country as a country in which we must inherit and build a democratic structure. After 200 years, America is still struggling with hacking. It's still struggling with Florida. It's still struggling with Russians hacking in. Therefore, we cannot expect a system that is as perfect as we want it to be. So when PDP reacts, it should know that there's a tomorrow. If there's no country, they won't be contesting elections here. And if there's no country, there will be no APC here.
All right, we want to leave it at that on this segment.
Today it is PDP, today it is APC. Tomorrow, none of this will be here. But our children and our children's children will remain here. I think that should be informing all that we do and all that we undertake. Because we are going on the other side. But
that's why we anchor on this matter, on the Supreme Court judgment and the outcome. Alhaji Abubakar Galadima, former presidential campaign, spokesperson of the PDP presidential campaign organization. Thank you so much for coming on. Mr. Cletus Obun, APC chieftain and a former lawmaker. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on.